yearling that we bring in is a yearling by Pharaoh, so the stallion that you maybe saw this morning. And so he is a Gelder registered yearling, and he's by Pharaoh, and out of a mare by Vitalis, and then 007 Contango. Yeah, and good sport family. The grandmother is also the mother from Al Primo, and the 007 mare is a Grand Prix horse, and the Vitalis mare unfortunately had an injury, and so she had not competed herself, but because we know a lot of sport out of that family comes a lot of sport horses, and so just for that reason, that mare, because she's not useful in the sport, she's very valuable, yeah, as a broodmare, yeah. So because we know the rideability and then of the whole family, and then by Vitalis, so just that is sometimes important that the mare does not always have to be a Grand Prix horse yourself or top level riding horse. It's important for breeding that the mare comes out of a sport family, yeah, and so there are many reasons then that sometimes a horse has an injury, yeah, becomes available for breeding, and otherwise they would not come available for breeding because they're in the sport, yes. So this that is the background on this yearling. So I'll hand over the mic to Ari and can talk a little bit about the history about the Gelderlander horse. And I think for us the Gelderlander horse is known for the versatility. Yeah, and it's a horse. Yeah, nowadays you want also a more modern Gelders horse, but the reason Gelders horse is known for the character, temperament, and versatility. Yeah, a horse that you can do dressage on, you can jump fences, and you could do driving if you wanted to. So this I.
Okay, thank you, Willy. Yeah, the first mistake what some people are thinking is that a Gelders horse and a harness horse look like the same. And that's not right, and especially when you see also this yearling, that is long lined. But when you look for a harness horse breeds like a more vertical neck. And in a harness horse, only the top important. That's the problem when you have Gelders breeding. We like a horse to breed that you can do jump, you can do ride dressage, a little on the lower level, maybe also eventing, and then the vertical neck. It's too vertical, that's a problem. By jumping also be eventing, but also by dressage. And we like for you well developed legs, and we like a curve in the neck, long line, and we like a little bit more body than the dressage horses, but it's almost the same goal. But they have to do also jumping, they have to do for driving. That is what the breeding code of the, we like also the performance test, we select also easy handling. But it's maybe sometimes difficult, and we like a horse to do good in the sport, but when you have him in the stable, you have to a sheep.
Yeah.
It is very hard to do in the presentations riding as a tiger, or move as a tiger, and in the stabling handling as a sheep. To combine in one horse. Yeah. That's always the problem. But we try to do that for a small group of people. The history is in the 60s, a lot of turbulence are used by the Gelderlanders, and then we turn over the type to the modern dressage and modern jumping horse, and some breeders say no, we selected our small population, and the goal is riding, driving, and also jumping a horse for because 1 week in the field and the next day you can ride it. Yeah,
that's very important, and you kind of saw that today, I think, with Phil. Yeah, that yeah, he comes in the arena, yeah, and he doesn't look at anything, so he's very cool with everything, but he's still very sensitive to ride and self-motivated, yeah. And you can see it here in the yearling too, yeah. You can see the expression he has in his eyes, yeah. You know, that shows the temperament, yeah. The eye is the window to the heart, yeah. And so that is very important in the Gelderlander breeding, yeah. So and also they have a little bit more substance in the bone, yeah. And but they still need to also be, yeah, uphill built, yeah, and the uphill direction of the body that Ken Floor of Ari talk about in the yearling.
Yeah. Let them free.
Yeah.
Let them
I've
free.
got one question for Willy.
Yeah.
I've got a question for Willy because this one is Contango, or it started with a Contango, then 07, Vitalis, and Alfao. How do you choose? Because there are like a couple of dressage horses in between. What's for you important, and why do you choose then a dressage horse or your Gelder dam line?
No, see the mother from the Contango mare is by Pantheon, so yeah. She was half thoroughbred. So and then Contango, I was always Contango fan, versatility and more bone. So then Satina, she was also the same example. She had an injury, a shoulder as a foal, she had an injury as a yearling, and then she had like 12 or 15 foals in her life. So and so the Vitalis mare of the 007 mare became a Grand Prix horse, yeah. But those is every time it's mainly dressage, yeah, direction, yeah. And we used the Vitalis mare on Faro last year because that was the first year. Yeah. Yeah. Of the year before, he was still actually not licensed, so that was for ourselves just to have an idea what he's going to produce. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Recurring the Gelders.
Yep.
Also have to see movements. You have to see the center. Sometimes you ask for small jump. But I get an impression how you use the horse's body. As you can see, he's easy canter, easy flying. He shows a lot of suppleness. But for the dressage people between you, it may be thinking it's a little bit more classic. But the Gelder breeders said, oh yeah, I like that. A little bit more bones, a little heavier bones. He's very supple in the canter in this moment.
After that, we can do directly.
Gelder's breed horses. There's also the discussion with the harness horses. And using more and more by the forehand hand. The forehand hand is also very important. Maybe suggestion to the harness horse breeders start also to evaluate the horse in free movement. And it's the same discussion with the Friesians. They can do a lot of show by hand. But you get a real impression from a horse under the saddle. And when it's not possible, they are too young, then you have the best impression when the horse is in free movement. Then you can see the real walk, the real trot, how he uses his hind leg, how he uses his front leg. Have like a little more expression, we can see it for hearing. It shows good suppleness, good use of his front leg. And you have a better impression of the horse in free movement than show by hand, I'm sure.
So I think what important is too, yeah, a lot of times you can have a horse and you say, okay, it has a super trot, super canter, yeah, but most important is that you always have a complete horse, yeah, complete horse that you have 3 good gaits, yeah, and that also with selecting mares for breeding, yeah, I always say that the weakest point of the mare should not stand in the way of the purpose of the foal, yeah, and if you keep that as a guideline, yeah, then because the mare most of the time don't pass on the weak points, yeah, and most of the good points too. But if you have a mare, you're selective, then you say, okay, I like everything about the horse, but I like to see a little bit more this, a little bit more that. But none of the stuff that you say, well, this is what I don't like,
yeah, and that usually will pass it on, you know. So that's a little bit the measure I always use, yeah.
And one point I add to the advice from Willy is also what is important for durability is correctness in fundament. We like as a user of horses that we have to schooling the horses for a lot of years.
So you have to stay facing the speaker.
Je hand hoger en die kant op. Je hand moet hoger.
Okay, with time. It's very important that the durability, that the horse has very good communicates, okay, and clear, but also what very important is that correctness in fundament. Even foot, correctness, even high heels, not extreme too out, too in, and even feet. Uneven in front, in fundament or behind give always problems. It's the same as you run the marathon with a new orange shoe
Or a high heel.
and an old or a high heel and a low heel. Uneven give problems. Also in training for durability, it is very important. Sometimes some horses have a bit wider feet or a smaller feet. That's not so important. It's important that on both sides are even.
Yeah.
Agree,
We
Ronnie?
do have a
Totally,
question.
yeah. So anybody has any questions?
I do. So earlier I heard you say something about a horse's hock. He was a little straight in the back leg, and I just wanted to know what was good or bad about angles or straightness.
Yeah. Yeah, what was the negative about the straight hind leg?
In the end, you want it as correct as possible. If you have a longer hind leg, 9 out of 10 times it's behind the body. Alien, do you mind putting him here? Then I can. He's so sweet. I can touch him and point out. And in the end, you want if the horse is standing in front of you and you make a line from his seat bones and you go downwards, you want the hind leg to stay underneath the body, to have like one straight line. Especially with a lot of dressage horses nowadays, we see a longer hind leg, and then they're going to stand a bit like the harness horses do with the hind leg behind the body. Well, you can imagine if you want to make that hind leg come underneath and carry, you have to bring it more forward than when it's already there. So you want the hind leg to be in a straight line with the seat bone, so it's nicely compact with the body. And then the angle, the more bend it is, the more it looks like it's bending. But in the end it's saying, I'm not doing that much, it looks good. You want the hind leg to be active in the joint, not bended because it's built that way. When it's bending in the joint, it's really making this and it's carrying weight. A straight hind leg doesn't have to be bad as long as it bends and it takes over the weight. But what we see a lot is the combination of a straight hind leg and weak pastern, because it needs to bounce somewhere. And the weak pastern is really dangerous for the durability. So you don't want it too straight and too weak, because then, especially when they get older or they have to put more weight on it, you get injuries with the tendons.
This is the optimum.
They always want the perfect one. But it's, in the end, it's with the hind leg. You can ride a lot down when it's standing in front of you, but the way the horse uses it is the most important part. And I think over the last, 15 years or 10 years, we really changed the way we look at it. 20 years ago, they wanted a really, really pretty one, and now we want a functional one. We want to see the best horse in the arena, and not standing in the field being pretty. So you want it to be functional and durable. And if it's pretty, that's top.
Of course, in the beginning of use of the thoroughbred, we like a little bit more, the gelder have a little bit more horizontal group. And in the beginning, when we start with the thoroughbred, we look a little bit, the group could go more sloped, the pins lower as, very low as the hips. He said, oh, that's nice, but it's a thoroughbred and it's an elegant horse, but for the power, and the data shows that, for the power is a more horizontal and more length in the group, very important. For example, when the hips and the pins is very low and not look not to the tail, but look to the hip and to the pin, and it's too sloped, then you have no power in your hind legs. Therefore, we prefer we changed our mind. For 10 years ago, we liked more slope in the group, but now we said, no, the rightness and the data for durability and sport results is a reason, a little bit more horizontal group, more length in the group, that's very important.
And I think especially the reason you want the length in the group is because in the end the engine is in the height, and it's really simple because the more space there is, for the muscles to grow. If there's no space, it can't grow. So you need a bit of length in order for the power to exist.
I think, but also is very important and often not so much talked about, is the position of the stifle. If the stifle is set too far back, that can be all the action in the hind leg, but then it doesn't go over in carrying. So it's not so much just the bending of the hack, but it's the position of the stifle, that is under enough and more vertical is there.
Okay, I like to point it out, and then you can see the connection when is the hip, that's the pin bend is very slow. Now this distance is short, and the combination, what also really means, when the hip is high and the pin is low, then the stifle is also low from the body, and then you have no power behind, you have no place, it's very short.
Okay. So anybody, any more questions about this one? See, and I think you could see in his movement when he was moving, he had very good posture, same as the sire. The horse carried himself well, and for a yearling, I think he was very balanced, So if you see the next one, we saw him already earlier, but I think you can kind of compare the conformation, but in the other one, it's conformation is more heavier boned, maybe not as refined and everything, but the functionality and the technique in the legs was very good,
I think if you make the comparison, dressage is like ballet. So you want a bit more of elegance. And for sure for a mare you want that even more than for a stallion. Stallion can be a bit more strong in the type and a bit more muscly. I think when, like Vivaldi was the last stallion that needed to jump, and after that we did the division between jumping and dressage. And then they started really selecting on long-legged and uphill, and the last couple of years we said, okay, we had enough. It doesn't have to be more uphill, and it doesn't have to be more long leg, because if you look at the Grand Prix horses, a lot of them don't have that long front leg. They're really even built. Good connection on the loin, really important, good top line, but you don't need them that much up. You want them to be balanced in their body, because then they put good weight on each foot and they're durable. So for sure you want balance, but you also want nice proportions in the body, so that it's not really short in the back or short in the neck, but it's the same everywhere. Let me go. It's long-lined, and it's got a nice length in the neck as well. And what you can see is that it has a really strong top line. For sure it's a yearling, so it needs to gain some more muscles. And this one's been gelded. So then it's got no help from any hormones right now to get more muscling. But it's nice long line with a long neck as well. And you have a long withers. And people always say, why do you care that much about the withers? But the withers make sure that the connection between the neck and the back is good. And the shoulder is connected to the withers as well. And in the end, if you start riding, you need it, because otherwise your saddle will go from left to right, from back to forth. If you look at a horse, and why do we find a good, strong top line that important? I always explain to little pony kid, if it's summer you try to water the garden. And if the water hose is nice and even, spread out, the water goes through. But when it's really with a hook in it, then the water doesn't go through. It's the same with the top line. When the top line is nice and smooth and strong and easily the way it goes, the energy can go really good from behind forward. But when there's anywhere a big ditch, like really weak or really roached, it's more difficult to make it supple. It's more difficult to make a good connection towards the bridle, towards the hand. Willie, if you look at a young one and you select them, what's for you important?
Important is the pedigree, and then obviously the type and movement. Yeah, but the balance in the horse, and like I said earlier, that it is a complete horse. Yeah, so it has to have 3 gaits. Yeah, and so what is the biggest difference between this yearling and the other yearling? Who wants to answer that?
Finer bone.
This one is finer bone, yeah. What about the technique in the race? Yeah, the other one had a bit more bending of the joints, yeah, more action, yeah. So they both have good balance. Yeah. This one is more light-footed, a little bit more reach.
More elegant.
But goes easy moving, yeah, not extreme. Yeah, and that was brought up earlier. A lot of times people try to breed a 3-year-old that looks like a Grand Prix horse. So they have a big neck, yeah, and then later on they can't collect because the neck is too high and the middles don't come up and they don't want to collect. So dressage is training, it's also development in a horse. Yeah, so when you have a horse that's balanced and uses his body well, then the uphill comes when the withers come up, not just the neck, yeah, and that's a 3-year-old that has a big neck, a big mover, yeah, and then by the time they have to collect, and they don't use the neck, and then when they don't use the neck, the withers can come up, yeah.
And that's the same way you see this one moving, because if you look from the line, from the tail over the back, over the neck to the ears, it's fluent. And if you have one with a really vertical neck, then starts what I tried to explain with the water hose, difficulty of the horses coming behind the vertical, putting the back a bit more down. This one is really nice. For sure you want more muscling later on in the top line, but that will start when you start to train it. If you look now at the way it's shaped from nature, it's the top line you want.
Yeah, I fully agree with Willie also that a young horse has to like as a young horse. And not very wide and a lot of muscling. And an older horse has as an older horse. And not very small and not developed enough. It is important that when the horse comes in the arena, that you can see it's a yearling or 2 years old or 3 years old of a horse in sport. And it is very important also for durability.
Yeah, but the ease of movement, yeah, and the posture in a horse, like their horse is a different posture than the other one had, yeah, but it's still, the horse goes around here easy, don't have to chase him, it's the same balance, so when you go sit on a horse later like this, they're going to be riding easy too, because they naturally carry themselves. It's not that you have to hold them together, and if you see a horse go and when they take off, they go with the neck up, then when you ride them, when you put your leg on, they're going to do the same thing. Yeah? So.
Do we have another question?
Okay.
So on the shoulder now, how some horses have a really loose and lifting, and some are more. How does that?
Yeah, the shape of the shoulder is of course important, but like Floor said earlier, you always have to look at the horse in movement, how he uses his body. So, but I'll let them talk about more.
For sure it's the position of the shoulder, but it's also the length of the shoulder and the connection it makes with the ears. If it's really sloping, 9 out of 10 times, and then you have the hind leg a bit more underneath the body, then you see that they will get knee, but it's more difficult to get the shoulder freedom. For sure, if that horse matures and it's collected more on the hind leg, there will be more room for the front leg to be lifted. So that's something you can learn, and that's why you can develop a trot. You can change it in that way. If the shoulder is more in a sloping one, and it's a good connection and it's got a good length, you see there's easily a reach from the shoulder. And what's also, of course, different, you have to take into consideration when you judge them, if they have a shoe on.
Okay, you're good.
If there's a shoe on, it's a bit more weight, you see more knee, and you see a different use of the front leg than when they don't have it. So you can change it a bit by putting different shoes on. And for sure, in the end, it's also training, and the more balance and power there is in the hind leg, and the more it's carrying there, the more chance it has to produce a front leg as well. But to be honest, and that's something as a judge you have to be really careful with, you want the hind leg. The front leg is like the glazing on the cake, but you want the hind leg, because then you have an engine and you can start.
And when you have a horse with a long, slower hind leg, yeah, that is harder to carry himself, and then you try to carry the horse too much and try to find the problem or fix the problem up front, while the reason is somewhere else. Yeah, so it's always important in your training that you develop the horse and that you know your horse's weak points, or the points that you say, okay, there he needs more development, and that's where you adjust a little bit your training on, so that you, by the time the horse is 5, you have a horse that has a solid foundation, all 3 gates, and then you can build up from there. Yeah, and not that when you have a 3-year-old that has a super trot and you just keep trotting and you forget about the canter and the walk. Yeah, so it's always important to look at all 3 gates. It's also very important that the horse, when you ride him, that when you go to the walk and the walk is not correct, then there is usually something wrong in your training, in the trot and in the canter. Yeah, so we always learn this, the walk is to control if your work was correct, the trot is to develop and to experience the horse and train, and the canter is for more impulsion.
One that is with shorter front legs and it's a bit high in the hindquarters, you have to work more to make sure that there's bending in the hind leg and that the joints will take the weight for the withers to lift. So everything they have from nature makes, well, our jobs as trainers and as riders easier. And in the end, the work for the horse as well, so the durability will be better. I think it's really nice to see as well, this is a long line type. People always say, why do you want length in a horse? When there's length, there can be movement and there can be bending. If you look at a jumper's width, which is short and a bit stiff, or you look at a dressage width, which is long, there's way more movement when you make the same movement with your own hand. So you want the horse to be able to bend, to be able to have the movement, to be able to extend and come back again. And that's also important in the development of a horse that's a bit more compact and a bit less tall. It's easier when they're young, because the connection is in the horse from nature. And when they're a bit bigger, 9 out of 10 times they need a bit more time. Except for Faro. So.
Cycle in this horse, yeah, and then you look at the walk. Probably use starting, yeah, and the walk is big, but it's not like huge big, and yeah, sometimes too big of a walk is also not desirable. Yeah, it has to be clear forebeat, but also has to be able to collect. Yeah, and that has to do, yeah, with the hind leg and the position of the stifle. Yeah. So, and then pretty soon when we start trotting, you can keep that in mind, and then the horse carries his withers. Yeah.
Yeah. There's always a lot of discussion about the walk. I was at the World Championship for young dressage horses last week, and then you hear the comments, you see the points, you're like, okay, we had something else. Especially in Germany, we do the NA test together with them. So I'm there with the German judges, and I have a lot of talks about the walk. Because they have a different view on how to judge it than we have. And they look from the side view, and they want the big step and the looseness through the body. And we prefer more the active walk. I always say that you just collect it, you do, and there's a little bit of fluff. I love that, when you can see it in the wool. But we also look from the front. So when there's a horse with a really good, let's say for a 10 from the side, but it will go like this, for me it's not a good wool. I want it to be straight, I want it to be good in the front leg. Same from behind. I don't want it to go like that in its joints. I want it to be stable, because then it will stay durable. And what's important in the end is for sure the rhythm, the activity, but also the use of the body. If the horse will relax the back in the wool, and we'll make sure that the energy from the hind leg will flow towards the front again. Really, what makes a good trot for you?
This is a very balanced trot, yeah, and that's a trot that you can develop, yeah. The horse carries himself well, has again really good balance, yeah. It's an easy mover, yeah, and you see in the canter the same. And that's what makes it a complete horse, yeah. It's light-footed.
What I think is really, really important as a breeder, we can produce a trot, we can develop it. We can't do that with the wool, and the canter for sure it can get stronger, but 9 out of 10 times it will stay the canter that it is from nature. But a trot, if it starts as a young horse, and I have one at home, it starts trotting like a pony, sometimes you give it, there's more in it. Give it time, make it stronger, learn it with some exercises to come on the hind leg, and then you can change it. But the difficulty is, if we want to sell a foal, everybody wants the flashy trot. And I would like to have a foal with a good foal and a good canter, because later on, I can develop the trot. So always keep in mind, if you go looking for a new young horse, for sure it's nice when there's a flashy trot on it. But you want the walk and you want the canter, because the rest you can try to produce. And there's more chance you will make it than with the other two gates. And what's really good to see with this horse, you have to keep in mind that these horses aren't trained. They came from the field or from the stall, and they're just in here. And if you can see how easy she holds herself on her hind leg and balance in the canter, that's really something they have from nature. And if you don't have to learn in that, it's way easier. Now as well, the hind leg, for sure you want a bit more power, but it's always in the right direction, always in balance. And nice in the posture. And we have another question for Mr.
The question is, Willie, if you were to breed this mare, who would you breed her to, and what traits would you be looking to improve upon?
Yeah, so this for me a mare that you say, okay, that's a complete horse, yeah. Walk, trot, canter, good conformation, good size, not too small, yeah. And if you say, okay, where do you want to improve on, then you say you like to maybe have a little bit more power, yeah, that he comes a little bit more up off the ground, you know, but he's very light-footed, got a lot of ground. So a lot of stallions that are suitable for a horse like this, yeah. So it's a lot easier to find a stallion that has a lot of quality, yeah. But you got to start with a good foundation in the mare, yeah? And the mare line has produced really well, yeah. So you have a lot of options here to match up with this mare. But if there is anything that you say, okay, then you say I like maybe just a little bit more power, yeah. And other than that, she has very good feet, clean legs, and good temperament. So it's anybody can throw a suggestion. So, but I mean, there's plenty of stallions that would work. So you go by, when you breed for yourself or when you breed horses, you have to do something that you like, you know. Otherwise, not that you just breed to, and that's usually a big problem, breed to a popular stallion and don't even look at the horse itself. You know, you gotta say, okay, this is what I like at a stallion, I know my mare, and then you get better and better, and you and otherwise, yeah, you you jump from one extreme to the other and you don't look at the horse, you just breed to the most popular one, and that often is sometimes commercially sometimes good that people are interested, but if you have to raise them yourself and you have to ride them yourself, then you're better off by selecting something that you say that's what I like, yeah, and it's up to you that you stay up to par with the requirements, yeah, in the sport.
And tomorrow we will have, like a lot of people call it baby day, but the foals. And I think it's interesting to tell that it started here with the free movement of the foals. Well, not just the foals, but the mares free moving as well. In the Netherlands, we still do, but did before only the mares in hand, and then the foals came with their mum. And then you see that you really have to come after them to make them canter. And if the mum does free movement as well, the foal will canter really easy and it will show its natural canter. And then you can really judge it. And if we look in the Netherlands, we have a lot of foal auctions. And then looking back at what I just said, that the walk and the canter are the most important, it's really a shame that we don't let the mares move free as well, because then you can see the canter. And now we all want them in the big flashy trot, but it's really difficult to look at the canter. So make sure if you go to judge your own foal or look at your foal, let the mare walk or run as well, so you have the natural canter and not the canter you have to produce with a whip, because then the back will be stiff and it will always be different.
Yeah, formally, conclusion, is your breeding goal to sell foals on auctions? Then you select only on trot. Is your breeding goal to breed an easy, durable riding horse, and on the end, Grand Prix horse? Then you have select more on walk, more on canter, and more on correctness in fundament.
So this is a little bit the fourth generation of the horse Alaska. You saw today several horses out of Alaska. So, so the mother from this horse is the bay mare Makana Bria that went this morning.
The mother is Geen Bria. She also, she's by Bellissimo. She also was the winner of the Gert van der Veen Award when she was younger, and had shown to the levels with Ashlyn and Caitlin. Yeah, so this is actually a fourth generation out of Alaska then from her, and then before that is the horse, the grandmother from Alaska was Columbia, and Ari can tell more about the Bria line and the Columbia, and then you have the Bria line of the stallions 007. Yeah. So we can let her go, and then Ari can talk a little bit more about those years of those mares.
Look first and then start. As you start, not bad. Huh? In northern part of Holland, you said, but it's very good, and said, yeah, to a horse breeder, what do you think about the horse? We have a tremendous horse. The people born in the north of the Netherlands said, not too bad. But starts very good, eh? From that we like that you start from the first trot. First
It's a mare as well. It's a mare? Yeah.
2-year-old?
Yeah. Cool.
A lot of suppleness. And a lot of use of his whole body.
I think now what you see in the canter is interesting to take into consideration, because it's a bit impressed. And then she goes like that. And you can easily judge it and say, oh, it's got no posture. But now you have to see what it does in the turns, and how it uses the hind leg, and how it can turn, and how it can go forward and go back. And then you know what you have in the hind leg.
In the first week.
And it's, when I started at the KWPN and at the first mare shows, they were kind of used to letting them trot really fast on the long side. And then I said, I don't want them to have that much speed. I want them to have a normal speed, but I want to see the corners. And I want them to go round. So we can see how in the corners they use their body It was really, really nice to see this one, that you can see it starts already to take over the weight. And when she drops the pull, still the hind leg comes through and carries and goes forward.
Oh no.
And remember, there's no shoe under this front leg. So it's a really nice, natural technique of the front leg, not a swing in the body. And there as well, as she comes back and still the hind leg is in the rhythm, the engine is still there. When she needs to go forward, it's really easy to go and to give a bit more. And always the same rhythm. It's fun this one next year.
It's the same that we like, not very huge arenas. There's some breeders said, oh, the arena is too short to show my horse. Make them bigger, make them longer. No, we like shorter, compacter arenas. Then you see more, give you more. What is doing? What is how it's handling the horse? When we come back and come forward. Therefore, when you start also the shows by hand, make the arena smaller, and do more transmissions. This is a very nice horse. The bending, the use of his body, use of his legs.
So El Primo is the sire, all you guys have to do.
El Primo is the sire, but I was just thinking, if you see her go now, you just want to sit on top and have fun. It's so easy, it's so natural, you can just feel yourself going there. And you can imagine if you have one with this quality, sometimes people say you don't have to do this or that with a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old because it's too much for them. But when you have this quality from nature, and they're good in the head, really simple, you just have to sit on, and you will get it. Did you see it? She was always standing still. Still, the hind leg sat. Come on, I will take over the weight, and I'm there. And then, okay, for sure it's a bit looking towards the future, but if you have a hind leg like that, and it's always coming and it's always carrying, it's so nice to extend and collect and extend and collect and feel what's happening in the body.
Okay.
Okay, but wait, now a difficult question, because you have a mare like this, for sure. If you're critical, there's still points you want to improve. But this one, how do you want to breed it? If you want to have a foal from this one, what are the thoughts you have on a stallion? What do you want to add, or do you just want to keep things?
Well, for me, this would be a mare for Pharaoh. Yeah, you get a little bit more size, more bone, a little bit more posture, yeah, and carrying power. Yeah, but again, too, it's you've seen the mother, the grandmother was a super talented horse also, and so you have a lot of sport in the family. But she could be a little bit taller. Yeah, she's a little bit smaller. Yeah, but at the same time, she's a good mover and the whole body, yeah? So she has a really good use of the body, and if you want to pick on her, you can say it's a little bit short in the croup. But all those things are less important if you see the horse move. Yeah,
and to be honest, Billy says it's a little bit smaller, but for me, for a 2-year-old, I like the size.
This horse's croup is more sloped than, like in the beginning you were talking about one horse that had a nice round or horizontal, whereas this horse's croup is a little bit more sloped, and it really came underneath nicely. So that's good.
It's good, but it's also because that stifle is in the right place, yeah, and then the rest is a little bit less important, yeah, of less important. But you can see the horse uses himself well. It's a lot of each. Yeah.
I think that's what we mentioned earlier, that maybe like 20 years ago you would have said, oh, it's short in the croup, and it's really not, I don't want it because of that. And now you're saying, okay, she has it, but look at how she handles this and what she can do. You want it to be like that. And if that's with a little bit shorter croup, then well, let it be like that.
Our breeding goal is not the stature. Our breeding goal is a horse under the saddle. then it's more important how he uses his body than how he is built. Okay, when he is built correct and functional, then it's easy to show the correctness and the nice gaits. But some horses have, so this one, a little bit sloped, a little bit rounded in the group, but she used it very well. That is more, then it's more important when you give final notes, a final impression. And of course, when we said that the next partner of this horse, the first partner, like a little bit more length in the group, okay. But when you give the end note, the final notes of this horse, then it's more important how he is used than how he is built. That is functionality. And the discussion about taller and bigger horses, okay. It has to be a combination with the rider. When I sitting on the big horse is also not nice. If like this horse. But our offspring is also bigger than we are. And then, okay, then the breeding coders have Hans-Peter Minderhout cannot sit on the pony, for example. But the risk is how bigger the horse, especially young age, veterinarians said more problems with ships and kind of things. That can be too big.
So what's important is that you also can see in a young horse, yeah, and this one is then more extreme, of course, but in a young horse you can see already the adjustability in the horse, yeah. And if you saw Makana, she had a little bit the same in the saddle, yeah, that she came back and you saw her go more uphill, and so this one has that same technique and even easier, yeah. And so that is breeding, yeah, that you have the traits that the mare have, that you try to improve on it, yeah. So it's not that you breed opposite to opposite, because then you just kind of stir the pot, you know. If you say, oh, my horse has a short neck, I got to breed with a horse with a long neck, or we have a short group with a long group. Yeah, you got to say, okay, my horse is this, and you have some points that you want to improve on, and you try to find stallions that do that, but you got to not just go opposite to opposite. You got to always breed strong points to strong points, and then you get better, and otherwise you just mix it all up and you don't really go forward. Yeah,
Only in the middle.
Yeah, you get a grey one.
Grey Moses.
Nothing. I think the more horses you have from a line, and like the more generations you have, like now Willy does with the Valeska line, the more you know what's really strong embedded in that line and what you can use, and maybe, well, experiment a little bit. And in my experience, the mares with which I've ridden under the saddle or I competed, it's way easier for me to breed them because I know them so well. I know what I want to keep, and I know the points that I'm like, okay, every day was a bit difficult. And when you have a mare that you didn't read or that you like bought from a different line, it's way more difficult because they're not in your system that much. What do we have here, Willy?
This is Vitalis. Yeah, Vitalis Bordeaux painted black. So, and mother is a almost FEI 4th level horse. Did a very good EPUB. As a young horse, comes out of the same mother line as Koning himself, owned by Judy. And Caitlin owns now the mother. But if you breed for keeping your horse and you know that you have to ride it when it's 3 and you know you have to develop it, yeah, then you select for sport and you select for a horse that also has the value, yeah, in order to put the time and money into it to develop it, yeah. So it's sort of a choice, and what you can do yourself. If you get the horse has to be tamed and you have to pay for everything, that's hard, yeah. So we're fortunate here that together we can help each other, get the young ones started, yeah, and bring them along to the age of 4 or 5 team work. Yeah, and that is a little bit a strong point here for us. Yeah. What you see is the moment of takeoff is most important. Yeah, that you just, if you go slow, you can see this one trot the same as the other one slow. They cannot trot small, that they only can trot big. That's not a good horse. Yeah, so they gotta have a horse that has the adjustability. Yeah, and you can see that already. Especially because she's a little fresh, yeah, but otherwise she relaxes and the canter.
get even better, yeah.
I think if we look at the confirmation of this one, she's a bit more compact than the other ones that we saw. A bit less long in the back. And not as big. Big enough for me, but not as big. And then you can see that it's easier to have a bit more power over it. And what's really nice to see, what Lily said as well, like the way she stands here and the way she comes back. Hi! So, you want to say something? But the way she just stops into halt, you can see it's the way that you want the mechanics in our body to work. And in the end, it's not about being able to do it at this age for a really, really long time, but it's the real moments you see that you're like, okay, there's quality in it. There's well, behind like a power, it's got bending, it's going in the right direction. Okay, now she's a bit fresh, so maybe she could swing even more over the back. But still, there's a lot of balance. And activity with the contact as well. There also, as she changes in direction, and still the hind leg comes through in the same rhythm, same posture, same balance. That's a really important thing that Lily just mentioned, that you want to induce stability. And okay, for a lot of young horse competitions, it's nice when they have that big trot, but in the end we break for the top sport, and then you want it to be able to go smaller, to collect, and to still have an active and carrying hind leg.
What's the color? Like, I've heard chestnuts are hotter than bay horses. Is that just silliness, or is that a real thing?
No, yeah, it's the same that they say if the white-eyed are bit or not. I don't know, I think it's something that's like an experience. You say, I had no chestnut mare and I was really afraid it would be a difficult one. But it looks until now that it's really good. I don't think it is like that. And I don't think that we really can prove that. It's a lot in the lines, and maybe there's some hot lines that give a lot of chestnuts. But for sure, but it's like with mares as well, huh? Mares are a bit different in the character, especially than when you have a gelding and the hormones are always steady. So for sure, I think the gender has more of an influence than the color. What do you think, Willie? Think color changes?
A good horse has no color.
No.
Yeah.
But an expensive one might have a different color. An
Yeah,
expensive
that could be,
one.
but no, color is not taken. So, but it's important also is that you see the horse is self motivated. You know, you don't need to keep chasing him. You know, he goes whenever he's going, and he's right away active. Yeah, it's not like, yeah, it's easy.
That's maybe worth mentioning, because in this time of welfare and everybody having an opinion about our sport, there's a really thin line between being gentle and relaxed and being lazy. And there's a really thin line between having self-motivation and being active and being tense. And you want the one that's able to relax. I always say you want an on and an off button. You want the one that's able to relax but still has the energy and the motivation to walk from itself. And that's something that still goes and goes, huh? It becomes more looser now. You see even more elevation in the knee and in the front leg, really nice. But that's something in your breathing as well, and that's really difficult to see if you're not sitting on top. But it's one of the most important things to have, and that's why it's really nice that we had a lot of horses here under the saddle. In the end, that part is the most important. This is fun, and it's the beginning, and it gives information. But the development and the rideability later on is the most important part.
We have a short discussion about color, but really, we all agree that no, color has no influence. No. Only the grey ones, you have to clean them up every day.
And I always say, if you have one with a special color, you're going on competition, you have to make sure the first one is a good, huh? Because they will remember it. And it will be the really good colored one, or it will be the bad one, and it will follow you for the rest of its career. So take a bit more time, you've got a special color, to make sure that you have a good first impression. Because there are a lot of chestnut ones and there are a lot of bay ones, and they will forget it. But one with a special color, the judges remember.
We've been looking at the qualities of the dressage horse, but the question is, what qualities would we be looking at for the jumpers?
Yeah, jumpers is a different breeding direction, but the similarity have is that they need to have rideability, character. Yeah, but they like not a long front leg. Yeah, because they need to have quick folding and take off. They usually have a more horizontal neck because the neck has to go down so that the withers can come up. If they have a big neck, they jump like that. Yeah, so they're totally different characteristics. But again, the horse has to be functional over the jump. Yeah, and the horse has to last. So it's always important that the fundament in the horse is correct. Yeah, and the big difference I think with the jumpers and the dressage horses is also that the dressage horse has to work, warm up, and then they have to do a test of 6 minutes, and a Grand Prix compete at that level. So they have to be very strong and a lot more wear and tear. A jumper, they warm up and they in 1 minute they're done in the course. Yeah, so they have a lot less wear and tear on the legs and joints than a dressage horse. So that's why they are built different, and they also train different. They're not trained to get bigger and all that stuff. So it's it's a little bit a different program, and so you cannot. Certain things you can compare, I think, in the training and the trust and the connection and self-carriage, that's all the same. Yeah, and jumping in a way is riding dressage over fences. Yeah, that's how you have to look at jumping. If you see a jumper that runs to the fence, they're always going to make mistakes too. Yeah, so it's the balance and how they can use the body, and the technique in the horse is itself too, that the withers have to come up. Yeah, same as a dressage horse, but then at the end, the outcome is a little different, yeah.
Yeah, and also the jumping sport is evaluated. In the past, we have high fences and strong fences. The material was lighter and lighter, and we like, therefore, more athletic, more use of his body, athletic horses. And the distance between the fences are variable. They have to learn more shorter or closer. We cannot build higher. We have to stop at 160. And animal welfare, that kind of discussion, you have to stop at 160. But you have to make a ranking. Dus the builder of the fences have to think about the distance between the fences, lighter material. When there's a lot of wind, then you can fix it, the poles. And that asks for the breeders, for jumpers also, that she selected more she like powerful horses, but also very athletic horses. And for the durability by jumping, some breeders like it when a stallion is jump about the fence with a lot of air and a lot of space between the pole and the body and the legs of the horses. But that is not for durable. For example, Fanny, he is become 20 years old in the Grand Prix jumping. They have ever not more space between the pole as this distance. And I mean, some horses, young horses, like spectacular, jumps extreme. It's the same with the extreme trotters. And durability is the problem. That is more athletic, and also a jumper rider is not jumping with the horse every day in a week, maybe one day. The rest of the labor and developing of the horse, you do it by trot and by canter. And also walk. There's also the durability and the rideability, and she likes also not the spectacular trot, but an easy walking trot, labor trot. And they have to develop make the horse stronger, more in trot and canter than doing the jumping. Also horses, the jumping is also a lot of change in the last 20 years. The breeding code actually more suppleness, more careness, more flexibility in the canter. That are the breeding calls more and more for the jumpers.
Gabriel, zoals bij Koning, Bellissimo, and then Velasco. 3 years old.
So we talked about the technique, and you can see balance in the horse again too. See, and then the technique is heritable. Yeah, you can see the 2-year-old filly that you just saw is related to this one again. Eh? So a half sister to this one was the mother of the 2-year-old. So with the front and back matches. Eh?
Oh, I think it's really nice to see. For sure, she's fresh, and for sure she wants to walk. But the moment that she turns so that she comes back, you can see that she does it in the right way. And it's the same if you have like an IBOP or another dressage test, and a horse makes a transition. You want the horse to stay in balance. You have a couple of them that will go and make like the hind up and then on the front back. And it's the same when you have them doing free movement. You can tell just by how they twist and turn what the mechanic in their body is. And you don't need 10 minutes for that. You just need them to take off once or twice, to come back once or twice, and you know enough. When they're really, really tense, we need a bit more time, and other times we just leave it move longer, so the owner's got time to look at the horse as well. But in the end, you can see really fast what the horse does in the body, how it will carry itself, and which chance for a good mechanic there is in the body. At least that's something that's really in the Valeska line, being able to collect themselves like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit the line itself, the media line, of course, of many sport horses that are competing at the highest level out of that line. Yeah, but also is important because you also know when a horse gets a little excited, that usually the canter becomes a little bit bouncy, you know, and that they don't really canter and finish the stride. But if you see this one now, she's a little fresh, and if you saw the 2-year-old, they were fresh, but they still made really clean transitions into the canter. Yeah, and that for a riding horse or for a sport horse, yeah, is a very important trait. So that when he engages the hind leg, yeah, that the horse right away can jump into the canter, finish his stride, cover ground, and not, yeah, when the horse then comes up and the canter stride becomes shorter. Yeah, so they got to be more collected, but not shorter in the front legs, so that the stride gets shorter. If you want to breed horses for the stop, yeah, they have to be, yeah, and you need to have good conformation. And this one you see, yeah, is a very nice rectangular type with really good length of the croup. Yeah, and then you can just add to the things that you like about the horse, and find the stallion that you really like, yeah, and that you add to the good points, yeah, and then you get better, yeah. Yeah, and if you see what her mother has produced and her grandmother, yeah, then you just get, every generation you go a step up, yeah. But it takes a long time. It's not something you just do, yeah. And then what's also very important is, of course, especially because of you have to keep it for a long time, is the soundness in the horses, yeah. So correct fundament, correct feet, good legs. That's very important too, because that all those things are very heritable, yeah. So, but again, yeah, just I think the main thing is to see that in order to, it's not easy to in one generation say, oh, I'm going to pick this stallion and then I'm going to produce my next horse. Yeah, you have to find a line or a male line that you like, and then you start developing, and that you breed good horses, and maybe that horse is not the right horse for you, but it could be the right horse for somebody else if you have a good horse. Yeah, but if you say, oh, I'm going to breed my next horse, that's almost getting a lottery ticket and say this is my winning ticket. Yeah, that it's not going to go that easy. Yeah, so and it's, yeah, you can only do so many, so it's not the volume that's going to make it successful. It is selection, and have a plan. Yeah, have a short-term plan, long-term plan, and then yeah, and then it becomes fun, and then you develop something that you can go on with. Yeah, but it has to kind of be in your system to do it. You know, otherwise, if you say, okay, I just want to ride, then a lot of times it's a lot cheaper than
go buy one. Yeah, buy one that you can ride, and then you go on and you do that, you know. But if you say you want to produce horses and do that, and that's what you like, then it's very important that you do your homework and really, yeah, like I said, have a long-term plan. Yeah? Not that you go from, oh, now I have a foal, I have to sell it. Yeah, because it doesn't go that way. Yeah, you have to be able to say, okay, I'm able to keep it and see how it develops, and if you can't sell it, you sell it. But if not, then you gotta be not in a bind. Yeah. So pretty soon we'll do more under saddle work. Yeah, we'll start with a younger stallion that got licensed last year during the NA SST test. It's more the new performance test for stallions, and I like it quite a bit just because of the fact that the country here is big. Yeah, the 70-day test is and very expensive and not practical here. Horses have to travel a lot. So this test is on the East Coast and on the West Coast. It's a 3-day test. They use judges that are in Europe involved with the young horses too, and development of the young horses. So you really have a good comparison. They have representatives from all different stud books there. Flo is representative of the KWPN. And so this is very good to be involved, and it is a 3-day event, so it's something that's affordable. You can do it, it's practical, and still keep things under control. If you let it go free, that there is no judging and no development, no comparison, then you can be very easily sidetracked, yeah, and look over certain traits that you don't want to develop and don't want to have in your breeding program. So you gotta have, again, and that's selection, and you gotta have comparison, and yeah, it will stay up to speed with Europe, then we have to keep going. Yeah.
West Coast NA SST test, Willie mentioned it earlier, and I was there for the 2nd year, and we work together now with the German stud books to select and to test the stallions. It's a really nice system where you're able to see them 3 days in a row. We use a test rider, so in the end you can really see the way the stallion is, because it's nice if it's a good one under his own rider and shows a lot of talent, but in the end you want to know if it's the ability of the rider or if it's the ability of the stallion. So that's a really good job for a test rider. We licensed this under also for the KWPN-NA. We really liked his way of moving, his conformation, but also his rideability. And we mentioned it outside already once or twice, but for sure quality is important. Health and durability are important, but the right mindset, the will to do it, to focus on the rider, to enable the rider to improve and develop the horse is one of the most important parts as well. You can have a really, really strong mover, but if they don't want to do it, you have to put them in the field and watch them there. He's now a 5-year-old, Vinny?
Yeah.
He's now a 5-year-old, so in the Netherlands you start that a bit with shoulder in and some counter canter and stuff like that. And I think what's always really important and what's really nice to see every time we're here is that you teach the horses to have balance, but also to have a connection over the back towards the hand. So they bring the energy to the hand of the rider towards the bit, and that you, as a rider, and Willie's showing it now as well, that's really good, Willie, you are able to change the position of the head and neck. And in the end, it's not important that he's always before the vertical, but it's important that you can do it. And it's important that he will drop the pole and come more over the back when you ask it. In the end, it's a game of asking a question and the horse answering it. And why do we think it's important that it will follow the head like that? Because in the end, you want him to relax the back. You want him to be able to drop the pole and relax the back, because then the hind leg is able to swing even more under the body. And it's good good to see always in the riding of Willy that the horses always push the nose forward. They're always eager to go like that. Okay, and then back again. And then when you pick them up again, you still want the hind leg to come under. Good. Leg yielding is a really nice exercise with a young horse. For sure, because you want it to learn to go sideways when you're 8, but also because you can play with it. And for sure, you want it to be nice and steady going sideways when you have it in the test. But when you practice at home, sometimes try to make the hind quarters go first, or let it go a little bit over the shoulder, just to make sure that you're able to change something. Willy, can you try it once? Do leg yielding and then let the hind quarters go first. So it feels totally wrong, but try to change it. There he goes, there he goes, there he goes. Because if you do every day the same, it will be like a button you push. And you want to be able to change it. Good. Because then when you're in a competition and he will try to forget his hind legs, you can say, no, 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 a little bit more. Like we practice at home. Okay, what's really nice to see in Sept, that he has a really good rhythm. And he maintains that rhythm every time he goes sideways. There's good swing in the body. And if you try to collect him just a little bit, Willy, show what he will do then. Good, good. And out again. Out, come. Then you see he's searching a bit. And that's okay for his age, yeah? He's coming back. He's giving an answer on the question of the rider. And then he's questioning a bit in his hind leg, how fast do I need to stay? And then as a rider, you're telling him, okay, we'll go forward again. Because we always want that hind leg to push forward again. Then you go back again, try to find it again. And he's really nice in the front leg. He really elevates it already. Good, that's better. And then he needs to learn to keep coming from that hind leg. Good. And what's good to see with this horse is that it has a really natural balance and is able to keep the pole easy as the highest point and still make the swing and the movement through the body. Maybe a little bit, yeah, I just want to say a little bit walk, a bit swing. And it's always important when you're riding with a young horse to have enough breaks. And to be honest, as a rider as well, the walk is the most difficult game. But the more you practice it, and the more time you spend in making a transition, learning the horse to relax, the more comfortable it will be when you have to do it during a test. With this one, it's not that difficult, because it's really easy in the walk. It's got a really good walk, active, good from the hind leg that has power. And then you see that it's really good in putting that energy through the body, reaching over the back, putting the neck forward and really stretching and lengthening in the frame as well. And that will give him the maximum of really reaching his stride and covering the ground. And then it's always important, if you judge the quality, when, like Willy is doing now, you pick up the reins a bit, how the rhythm will stay. That's good. And make sure that it stays loose enough in his shoulders so that the front leg stays fluid as well. As you see the bit that he's a bit tense in the shoulders, and he will keep his front leg longer in the air. So loosen up the shoulders again so the front leg stays fluid as well. Good transition. Why do I think it's a good transition? Because it was instantly on the A, from the hind leg towards the canter. And it's a canter again with a good balance. He doesn't need the speed. For a 5-year-old, he's really able already to collect himself a bit. And then you can see when he's doing that. When you want to come back a bit, it's okay for him to search a bit in the front. That's no problem, because he needs to find his own balance. He needs to see what's happening with his body. He can use his head as well to come back a bit. Good. And instantly good. Walk. Take care of the back. Good. And the same on the other side. A lot of times with young horses, there's a difference between the left and the right canter. That's because of the straightness in the horse. Every horse prefers one side, just like we ride or with our left or with our right hand. A horse has the same. So it's our job in the education of the horse to make sure we try to get them as even as possible. And the canter is the gait in which the straightness shows the best how it is. Good. And the same on this side, Billy. A little bit more through the right, a bit more bending, and then try to collect them again. Make sure that the hind leg keeps pushing under and stays active. Good. Good. And what's nice to see is that when he has his normal, like his basic canter, maybe he's just a little bit high in the group. But when he starts to collect, he really shortens in the line, and he really comes more underneath the body in his hind leg. So he starts to carry more and more, and that's something that you want to develop over the years. And it's good to start at this age to touch that. Good. Billy, does he do the counter canter?
Yeah.
Counter canter is like a mirror. And if your horse is not in balance and your horse is not straight, it's the most difficult exercise to ride. And when your horse is balanced and when your horse is straight, you can do every circling counter canter because it will stay in the hind leg and it will stay in balance. But it's a really good exercise to check and to train if you can keep the same jump and if you can play a little bit with the bending, because in the end, and you can see it here that the change is already there. You can see that it's already cantering, and you think if Billy pushes him once with an outside leg that there's a chance he will jump it. But it's good at this age just to practice it and to feel that you can change a bit in the counter canter, you can play with it. That's good. A little bit more right. Good. And still nice in the balance and good in the jump. Good. And then maybe Billy a little bit rising trot and lengthening the frame again. And I think it's a really important part when you judge a horse, or also in a normal dressage test, to have this part. Because when you lengthen the frame, you're really able to see what the hind leg is doing. And how the hind leg is able to keep the balance and is still carrying the horse, even though you're changing the natural balance. And it's good to see that this horse is still in the same balance, and that just stays really nice the same when he picks up the reins again. Nice in the rhythm, good extension. And then for me, you could come a little bit more back. I think he has the age now at 5, you can really pronounce a bit more and collect him there like he's doing there. Good, keep the hind leg. Good, good. That's nice, and then forward again.
Yeah, so it's a 5-year-old. We talked about it earlier. I said from the beginning till the horse is 5. It's crucial for the development of the horse. So this one I think is a good example of balance, relaxation, connection. Yeah, and the horse is ready for the 6-year-olds next year. Yeah, and is confident in his work. Yeah, and that is very important. Very important. I always say is the first 10 minutes of your ride. Yeah? That your horse is right away on the age. Yeah, you don't need to work and just walking, but you need to have the same program all the time. Yeah, and that the horse knows what to expect when you go sit on him, and then you build up trust and confidence. Yeah, and then you can also become more demanding. Yeah, because you know that the horse knows it, and if he's then at some point disobedient, you can be a little bit more firm and make the corrections. Yeah. So that is important. Important is that you always can let the horse stretch his neck. Yeah, if the horse does not do that, then you know you have a technical issue. Yeah, so it's very important that that is very confirmed, and biggest thing is also what I always say, you have to shape the neck from behind the saddle. So that means it has to come from your leg and the horse has to go to the bit. So this is not that you have to shape the neck with your hands, then you have a problem. Yeah, so those are just a few simple things that you always have to keep in mind. And the other one is also allowing it to happen is teaching. Yeah, a lot of times people let horses do stuff, yeah, they don't really mean to, but they still let it happen. And then the horse learns behavior that you don't want. So you have to, for yourself, always say, whatever you don't want the horse to do, don't let him do it. Yeah? And that didn't mean that you did it on purpose to let it happen, but those are just a few things that makes it easy to remember, yeah, when you work all the time. Yeah, so I think the highlight in the horse is the workability. You know, wants to work. You can see he has natural forward thinking. Is very elastic, supple. Yeah, and he wants to do it. Yeah, it's not work for him. Yeah. Next horse, yeah, is Maverick. He's by Dream Boy. And directly out of Alaska. The next two horses we'll see in Alaska is then the grandmother. A lot of characteristics from all the ones out of Alaska, the rideability, yeah, balance, the hind leg, yeah, so, and I'll hand off to right forward to the floor.
Thanks, Willie. It's really nice to see that this one is uphill in its type already, and whenever it starts trotting, you can see it will go with the withers up. How far is it in its training, Stephanie? Well, it's doing some lateral work.
Yeah. He can do the lateral work from third, but the changes are very green.
But that's not bad. If the changes are green, they're changes.
Well, sometimes they fly more.
Well, we'll see later then, okay?
Okay.
We're going to try because then I want to see how they are. Now I'm curious, of course. Okay, when Willie was talking, I don't know this horse, so then you're always a bit curious what it is, and she made a transition to the walk, and I really liked what I saw. Slowly a bit back, but keep the hind leg thinking forward. Because he's got a really nice hind leg, but he needs to push it a bit more under the body instead of lifting it only up. Good. Good. Like that. Like that. And then do it, make just one circle, so I will tell you what I want to try. Then do the same thing, but do your normal shoulder in. And then when you have your shoulder in, collect it a little bit, but keep on touching the hind leg and keep on asking the hind leg to go forward. So make some small transitions in the tempo, in the speed, when in your shoulder in. And in the end, you want in the shoulder in for the inner hip to lower a bit, to put more weight on the hind leg, and then change a bit and go forward again, and be able to change it. Never stay in the same speed the whole time. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Good job. And again. And that's always something if you want to change, then you get a little bit thinking, what do you want from me? But that doesn't matter, as long as he tries. Good. And then forward again. Forward. Forward, forward, good job, good job, good. So it's not just shoulder in one speed, but be able to change it. Good. Change the diagonal ones, then we'll see some canter. Nice. Come, come, come. Yeah, good. Make sure that if you want to go, then it really goes. Back and hind leg. Make it a bit more supple around your leg and then you go canter. Good, canter, 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 a little bit off the right side. Good job. Walk. Walk. Ooh. That was a good one.
Thank you.
They're really nice then. But make sure that you keep the cat come now as well. Let that. Every time he jumps in his hind leg for you, get the feeling that he touches it, brings it forward, not just up. That. Good. Otherwise he will get a little bit stiff in his back. Jumps forward from the left, jump forward, away from left. Good as well. Circle again. And loosen it up again in the back. Make sure that the hind leg stays jumping forward. Come, come. Not just up, over the back. Good. Because he wants to do a lot in his hind leg, but he needs to breathe and keep his back supple. Good. One more time and then it's more than enough. So that's always difficult, eh? He wants to offer a lot of good things, but he almost tries too much. Keep the canter, keep the canter, keep the canter. Good. Good. And then stretch. Good job.
Yeah, he tries too hard.
He tries too hard. And then he keeps his breath. And in the end, if he learns to breathe a bit more and maybe try a bit less, it will be really good. But for you, it's the challenge to tell him that he doesn't have to try that hard. But I really think that if you try with the canter to push it a bit with the hind leg, he wants to do this the whole time. And then he just holds his breath. And it's really, you can see that it just goes through the trot because he doesn't know how to bring his hind leg forward. So just add a bit more speed, but teach him to bring it there and to breathe again. And he did some really nice ones. So if you have that, then it's no problem. And if they're like that, you can do a tempo change as well.
Yeah, so these are both 7 years old, and so they've been started as a 3-year-old, completed as 4, 5, 6-year-olds. Yeah, and you see the development in the horse. Yeah, the difference. Yeah, the natural ability, but the natural ability is only valuable if the horse can show it and if you develop it. Yeah, so there's no complete horse born, so you got to make them all. Yeah, so so the training, the development is very important, and then also that the horse stays sound, healthy, and happy in the work. Yeah, and if you have horses like this and they're 3 years old, they're not going to be your easy push-button horses. Yeah, they're going to have energy, so you have to work them, you have to lunge them, but that's in a way a good trait. Yeah, if you have a 3-year-old and you don't have to lunge them before you go on, yeah, then they're probably by the time they're 5 or 6, they're kind of saying, okay, that's all I want to do. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that they don't have to behave, yeah, but the energy that you have as a young horse, yeah, you have to channel that. Yeah, but in the development, most important is yeah, that it is consistent and that it is you can fall back on it, so that if you run into some kind of a problem later on in the training, you can just do a step back and then you find the horse the confidence again, and then you can build it up from there. If there is no foundation, then it's hard to, then you constantly try to fix one problem and you create 2 other ones. Yeah? And if you have a foundation and you run into a problem or issue, yeah, you can do a step back and change it, and then you can move forward again. So that's very important in the horse's life. So that's pretty much happens from when the foal is born until he's 5 years old. That's when they have to do it. After that, if they have it not under the belt, then they have done already too many years wrong things that you deal with the rest of the life. Yeah. So there's that, yeah, that makes it fun if you can also then continue on with the horses and if they have the talent to move on. Yeah, so there's that, we're very fortunate that we all have these kind of horses to develop and to enjoy. So, yeah, you see the connection. This horse was related to the 3-year-old mare that you saw at the end, and this is the mother of the 2-year-old chestnut filly, and the Mabria there is a half-sister to the bay 2-year-old, the bigger dark bay mare. Yeah, so that's the same, all related to the same family, and so that is yeah, for a horse like Velasca, who started yeah, he was born here, and he started him. She's been shown as a 4, 5, 6-year-old in the FEI Young Horse Division. As a 6-year-old, he went to the World Championships in Verde, and then after that, it was her value for me or for us
was more from, okay, she can be more productive as for the breeding and for the development of our breeding program, then keep showing her. And that's why we decided after that to use her for breeding, and she, I think she has 14 or 15 foals in her life now, and has given a lot of people good opportunities to move forward. So we're very pleased with that, and happy that it all went that way. So we'll ride him a little bit. Floor can tell a little bit, but you can see they're 7 years old, so they show already a little bit more the ability for collection and the ability for the higher level. And then after that we'll bring in Vraska and the mother of Mabria.
It's really the fun part of breeding video. If you have them all and you can compare them like that. And I think it's amazing that we saw the 2-year-old filly out of this one, and you see all the quality, and it isn't always certain now when there are good horses under the saddle that they will produce good offspring as well. But if you have it both, then you're fortunate. I like these mares, but maybe that was already clear when we gave them the points in the morning. But what's really nice to see, and I'm going a little bit to the side because then they have more space with the two of them, but they've been developed in such a nice way. They're always eager to work, but you can see that they're confident and that they're trusting in the rider. And what I already said, the same with Cezanne. It's good to see that they always have the connection from the hind leg forward. And I think if we take scissors and we cut Ashley's reins, that it will stay the same. Because it's so on her seat and it's so in balance that there's such an elastic connection from her hand towards the bridle that she almost doesn't need it. And that was what Willie was telling earlier, that if you see her go, that's not the shape of a neck that you make. And you make it, but you make it with a balance in the horse. And you don't make it with your hand. You just ride it from the hind leg over the back. And then she starts to gain more and more the connection on the hind leg. The withers get up, and you get a really nice silhouette. Both these mares, Billy's showing it already a little bit on that side, have a really good ability to collect. And it's nice to see that the hind leg is really steady and is coming through, and that there's an expressive use of the front leg, but it also starts with the collection and with the body direction changing a bit more. And then the lateral work is really nice to use, because first of all you make them more supple and they're more obedient on the aids. But you also have a bit more bending, and you ask the inner leg to carry a bit more, to take over the weight, to lower the inner hip. You're doing a pas de deux. I'm only missing the Dutch close. And then the song. You're used to doing this. It's like a little show. But it's nice to see that the exercise, the lateral work, is really working to develop the horses, to get them more in the body, on the hind leg. And maybe you can do a little bit like Willie's doing there, where he transitions forward and then back again, so that people can see the horses extending and putting the front leg more out, reaching, and then like that, coming from the hind leg back again, and changing in the direction in their body. That's nice, isn't it? And a little bit shifting between the going forward and coming back. Good. And in the end, the most important part is that in this work, the hind leg is always thinking on the first aid of the rider forward again. So you're always able to go forward again, to let them go, and stay in the rhythm. Nice. And remember, S7. So still a lot of time to develop this, but so much potential, nice in the rhythm. And it's good to touch it and to feel what quality is there. And then every day, bit by bit, play with it and see, even lengthening the frame, keeping the balance, and then really nice stretching and staying in the same rhythm as well. And then you know that you did a good job when they were younger. It looks easy, but if we all try it at home, we know how difficult it is. That's good, Ashley, but then I'm a judge, so I'm always nagging about something. For me, can you try, if you go to the extension, to before you start, loosen up the right shoulder and let it give in a little bit on the right side more. Because if she starts, there's a small difference between how much wrist there is in the left and the front right leg. And 9 out of 10 times, that's just a little bit not being totally straight and not being totally loose in one shoulder, and then especially with a front leg like that, you see a small difference. Now it's good. Just before you put her forward, make sure that the right side is loose enough. So the right front leg, yeah, goes as well. Good. And she starts to look like her daddy. And then the canter, of course, you can see the way Billy is riding the turn, by making sure that you start your turn with the hindquarters. You use the lateral work. Also there you put the hind leg in a position to prepare for taking over more weight, for going into a working period, and for, like that, collecting and getting more and more ready to change also in the canter to a different body direction. And in the end, the circles that you start with at the young horse, but also the way that you use the corners, is something every time you can ask the inner hind leg to take over a bit more weight, to work a bit harder, and to get stronger and stronger in the end to show it. Oh. Towards really good, and then after the change, try to keep it more straight. And that's something that once you've produced a horse that needs to do the tempi changes, you learn that just one change, if you do one change really good and it's safe and it's straight and you can do it wherever you want to, you can do them every 4, every 3, every 2, it doesn't matter. But how much control you have about just a single change will make sure that you can do it every time, as many as you want. So make sure that you always keep the same canter, the same balance, and the same straightness towards a single change. Now it's ready for showtime, I think. Maybe if you start off really slow. And I think it's something to be really proud of here as DG Bar branch, to have such a nice breeding program, to produce horses like this. I think today we've really enjoyed altogether the quality of all the horses under the saddle, but also we saw which quality is coming in the next years, and I think it's something to look forward to. Really nice for all you people to have here in the United States. Is so thinking about how to produce the horses, how to develop them, how to manage it. If you see how confident these two horses are, that they're just doing this work so close together and in such a nice relaxation, it's really good to see. And this is something I really like, because now we're going to see Valeska. And it's so good that just one single mare can start something. For sure you have to make right choices and have a lot of knowledge, but if we saw how many really, really nice horses she produced and how many offsprings are doing really good. And she's still looking really good. Really, but the part about Valeska is really yours, because...
Okay, so here we see Valeska, so she's now 22 years old, so still good shape, fresh. Yeah, and if you see these horses and so many other horses, then you see certain characteristics. And for us, or for me, size is something that a horse needs to have. But obviously you don't need 17-3 or enhanced horses, yeah, but if you have a small horse, it's harder to get size, and when you have size, then you still can get a small horse, yeah, so I think also you need to have rectangular types, yeah, and horses with a loose body, and horses that are forward thinking, yeah, so here we see Valeska. And then the mare that's coming in, that is Veenklia, so she is the mother from Meglia, and then the black 2-year-old, and she had like already several other offspring that are going. Yeah, she herself was as a 4-year-old reserve champion in Chicago by the FEI Young Horse Championships. So she had also a sport career, but again, same thing. Yeah, you can only ride so many, and for this line to produce on, yeah, we decided to keep her more for breeding, and again, same thing. Happy that we did. Yeah, and you can see again a mare that has a good rectangular shape, good character. She's in fall now to coning again, so hopefully we'll get a full sibling from the 2-year-old. So it all started, yeah, probably 25 years ago, when I had the opportunity to buy the horse Columbia. And Columbia is by Toruto. Toruto was in those days very popular in Holland. And Columbia was a full sister to Olympic Barbria, who went to the Olympics with Tineke Bartels for Holland. And she's also a full sister to Galbria. This is the mother from 007. And these 3 mares in those days, these 3 mares, they're all at the National Mare Show in Holland. Yeah, and I don't know exactly how they all placed, but they were all in the top 10, and there were 3 full sisters. So when I had the opportunity to buy the horse with the daughter Columbia, which is then the mother from Valeska. Yeah, but Columbia was at that time 15, and she was in foal to Jazz. And she still, after she was 15, she produced here 5 more foals. So there was a very good purchase. And again, you need to have a plan and a goal, yeah, and then you can do something with the breeding. It's very hard if you don't have a vision in the way where you will need to. You know? So I don't know if anybody has any questions. But this is what we've been doing for the last 40 years, and with help from everybody, and Tony and Benny, who started this, had this vision, and Benny always liked the horses from he was young, and had that desire after they developed all this and had the life to be able to enjoy the horses, and that's how we all got started, and it's been a privilege for me to be part of the development, and without the whole family's help, it would have been not possible, and it is glad that everybody is involved who wants to be and likes the horses. You know, we all know you have to really want it and really like it. Yeah, but opportunity that we have here with the passion, the space we have, and then the facility, and then be able to work together is very unique and something that is I don't know if there's any place where it is harmonious and it works over here. So we're very thankful, and I hope you enjoyed the horses. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I think it's almost time for dinner, and I also want to thank Floor and Ari for today judging and to be here tomorrow. And you know, they all had a busy schedule. They judged the whole day and travel at night. Yeah, and that's from Woerden to do the videoing and the media stuff to get the word out and get the KWPN-NA promoted. I want to thank Jennifer for reading the test, and also want to thank Mary Grace, who just recently passed away. And I think for you who've been here for many years, she's been Mary Grace and Clyde been here for almost 40 years, I think, that they are out. But she always helped with the curing to read the test. So I want to remember that. And I would say thank you and thanks for coming. Food is ready, and I want to thank all the ones who has helped to put this all together. Yeah, if I call names, then I probably miss some. So, but you all know Kate and Ash and Judy, Rachel is always here, Amber, and rest of the family, Tamara. Just about everybody pitches in wherever they can, and that's the only way that it is possible. So, thank you all, and enjoy the evening.